Hello everyone, I think we're live. It's good to see you all. Sorry about my voice today. It's not at its best, but I think, I'll talk quietly and then just with a bit of tea, I think we'll go through it. Hello Kike, hello everyone. It's good to see you. Let me know who you are in the chat room. And I do apologize if sometimes I'm not looking at you. I have that screen with the chat room over there, so don't be offended, please, if I'm not looking directly at you, but I kind of am in spirit. So I was just practicing a little bit actually, because I haven't had time. I had a very busy weekend, not weekend, but Thursday and Friday. And I kind of have to get my fingers going again. And you can practice anything when it comes to guitar, but one thing I like to do is to pick a scale sometimes, not as a practice thing, not trying to do too much practicing, but just to play. But sometimes when you have 1,000 scales, then it becomes a bit confusing sometimes. You go like, what should I do, what I shouldn't do, and maybe I should practice this or that. So what I do sometimes is just limit myself to something. Sometimes I say, I'm just going to practice a very simple scale, or sometimes I'm going to practice a very complex scale, and I make no rules other than that. So I just play and try to expand it over the fretboard. And it's something you can do too. And I don't know why I'm starting with this, but these videos are about just me hanging out with you guys, maybe just as a bunch of friends sitting around talking about guitar. And this is the first thing that came up in my mind today. And so what I do usually is I pick a key, and I don't try to make it too complicated or too easy. I just randomly pick a key. So I was just going like E. I don't know, E sounds pretty good. And then I just pick a scale, which in this case was melodic minor, because I've been teaching it to a couple of my students. One of them is here, actually, I think. And and so I said, let me just explore this a bit further. It's a scale I often use. Even so, you can never do enough playing. And practicing, you can actually do too much. So practicing, I try to keep to a minimum. But actual playing, you can never do too much. And so I would probably do this. This is not exactly what I'm doing. I'm going to be beyond this. But if you're just starting out, this is what I would do. I would just maybe pick a scale and go, okay, so E melodic minor. And I would just pick maybe just an area of the neck. So maybe this area here, you can't see dots on my guitar, but it's around the 12th fret. And I might just start on from the root, nothing too fancy. Maybe I could even have a root underneath. So something very simple. But then as soon as I can, I will just try to spread out a little bit. So maybe to do that, I will have to figure out the structure of the scale, right? Because you can't just go randomly moving through the notes, because you probably screw up, especially if you're doing a key that's a bit more complicated. That's why I don't usually pick the easiest key. So if I'm doing, for example, melodic minor, I know that if I do C melodic minor, it's a bit too easy, maybe because there's only one flat. So I try to do it a bit more complicated. And then when I try to move around, let me see if I can raise just a little bit the volume of the guitar without feeding back. I apologize if there's any problems with sound. But then I would start doing this, right? So I might play the same notes. But spreading it out as much as possible. So I'm making it a bit more complicated for me. So move on only one string, and then as soon as I can, or I figure out how to do it, I start moving across the string. And expand it over all the strings and all the frets. So it's a pretty interesting thing to do. Not the easiest thing to do, actually, especially with complex scales if you haven't mastered them. That's why I was saying before, you can just limit yourself to a certain area. You could even start just with a simple octave. So if I were doing, what was it? I'm sorry, I'm a bit under the weather, but I'm okay. It's not the virus. But if I do melodic minor in E, I might just pick the first octave. Only the first octave, yeah? Yeah, and then as soon as I have it figured out, then I expand it. And the reason I'm playing a bit faster is to test myself, to see how agile I am when I play. So I'm not really worried too much about playing something nice. I'm just trying to test the speed at which I can think of different keys. And then maybe I would just switch to another key without warning. I would just say, okay, now do it in D. And so we start the same thing, maybe with an octave. But if I can avoid it, I would just go straight into just playing it over the whole fretboard. And it's something you can do with simpler scales. You can do it with major scales, minor scales. You can do it with pentatonics. Pentatonics are tricky. You think you know them, but when you spread them out over the fretboard, it gets a bit more complicated than it seems. But anyway, so welcome to today's video. And as always, for Music Talk Live, we do just a random thing. Every Saturday, I talk about stuff that comes up during the week, and we talk about music. You can tell me about your stuff. Maybe you have projects you want me to talk about, and we'll do that, as is the case with Alex's new record, which hopefully next week we'll be able to listen to. And all the cool stuff. So welcome, everyone. Let's see. There's Kike from Spain. That is Art from Canada, I think, and Carlos from Norway. All right. It's good to see you all. If you're not in the chat room, please join. We're all a bunch of nice people here. So you'll be more than welcome. And as a matter of fact, I do enjoy hearing where you're from. That's one of my kicks here for YouTube. Anyway, so the new Theory Thursday came out last week, and I suggest, just 2 days ago actually, I suggest you have a look. Every Thursday I do a little video on theory, and then on Tuesdays, of course, there's one chord a week where I teach you a chord, and then there's a few random stuff. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please let me just run this little animation by you, and make sure you hit the bell, because I know a lot of people are subscribed, but they're not getting any notification at all. As a matter of fact, I do get messages saying, wow, I didn't know you were still on YouTube. And I've been making videos for a long time now, every week more than one, but a lot of subscribers don't even know about it. So I think YouTube's is getting so big that they have to kind of manage how to notify people, but make sure you are in the loop with the bell. And one other thing I want to talk about, and it's about subscribers, right? Because I had an email, a very respectful email. I'm not in any way complaining about it. It was very respectful and very tactful. But a follower from Australia wrote me a message on YouTube as a private message, actually on Facebook. And he asked me basically in a very kind way why I have so many subscribers, kind of like probably almost 9,000, and so few views on my videos. And he asked if it was discreetly asked me if it was about having bought subscribers. And to be honest, I didn't even know about that stuff until I watched this documentary on Instagram and people buying subscribers, fake bots. And I replied to him that no, actually none of the subscribers were bought, which makes this channel's struggle to get to more people, it gets even more fascinating to me and frustrating a little bit too, but I can't quite figure out how it is. And then, I read into it, and I think the subscribe thing it's changed with YouTube. So even if you're a subscriber, a lot of people have so many subscriptions that YouTube can't show them everything. That's why the bell thing is so important now. And I think a lot of people subscribe to this channel through the years, and maybe then it was enough to be subscribed. But now, as you progress, you might be subscribed to this channel and never get any notifications because you just have too many subscriptions, or because you simply haven't rang the bell. So that's one thing I want to make clear. I did not buy any subscribers, and I would say if I did, I think it's a legitimate marketing thing. But to me, YouTube is not really a marketing thing. It's just a platform that I really enjoy using. And so if I spend money on marketing, it will be maybe more in the traditional sense, even though I assume that maybe I should get with the times and, do this kind of stuff. But it seems pretty weird to me to be buying fake views. I don't know. And fake comments like, oh my God, And even if you don't buy them, you still get them. I still get some comments that I know are fake. I know they're fake. I know it. Because they're like, yeah, great video. or I really enjoyed this video, please do more, stuff like that. I know they're fake. I try to delete them as soon as possible. But yeah, so if you guys are experts on YouTube and you want to let me know if you have any ideas on why it's taking this channel such a strenuous road to being more successful, please let me know. But I want to make sure also to thank those of you who have decided to subscribe to support the channel, because I know there's a few of you in here actually, and even they're not following the live streams, that do the PayPal thing, and you don't have to do it, but I just want to make sure that those who do, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. It's not even for the amount, it's because I really appreciate the fact that you value the information in this channel enough to go through the trouble of going to PayPal and doing a little subscription and donate some money. It's not even about the money, it's about the appreciation, and I really appreciate it. So thank you very much. I still appreciate everyone else who leaves nice comments, who listens to the music and all the stuff. It's great. But I have to give a shout out to those of you who do it. I won't name names unless you want me to. My problem with subscribing is subscribing to too many channels, and I should delete more, kind of stick to no more than 2 types of videos or something. I have tons of channels I don't look at anymore, even when I see they are live. Oh yes, I'm sure that's a problem. It's not like I'm actually against that. I do understand some people are subscribed to so many things. The thing is, it kind of makes it a bit more mysterious than it should be for us. Like if I make videos, we talked about this before, but if you make videos, there should be some kind of way to gauge why the videos are seen or not seen. And sometimes it's hard to tell, some videos are like, they're not even that great, but they get pushed somehow. And those get 100,000 views, and others that I think are great and they're useful, and I get feedback on how useful they are, but they're really fringe, nobody sees them. And those who see them click on it, and those who click on it like it. So that's a mystery to me. And we talked about this before, I'm more than open to accepting the fact that my videos are bad. Then it's fine. If nobody likes them, then I accept that, and it's my choice to change or just to accept that I have few viewers. The problem is when you have good content and you still don't get, you don't get exposed. That's a thing. But anyway, so that was my answer. I did not actually buy any subscribers. And talking about subscribers, I was going to do it at the 10,000 subscribers. But that might take a little while. I'm a realist. I understand that sometimes things go well. I've had my little successes with music. The YouTube subscriber thing is not my most successful venture yet. It might change. And so we're going to bring it down to 9,000. And we're pretty close to 9,000 subscribers, which, hey, is nothing to sneeze at. 9,000 is a pretty respectful number. And I will do a little giveaway when we get to 9,000. We should be shortly, kind of. I think we're 30 to go or something like that. And so unless YouTube does a purge and brings me down 20 or 30 more subscribers, we should get there pretty quick. And I would like to give as a gift to the subscribers one one-on-one lesson with me online. I've been really getting into online lessons. I'm loving it. I have students from all over the world, which before I didn't have because it was all here in person. And I just want to thank you all for being here. And so I will give away 1 half-hour lesson on Skype or FaceTime. Usually that's what we use. And so I will announce it next week probably, and I'll think of the way of doing it, if it's leaving a comment or simply being a subscriber, whatever it is. But if you're watching this video later from the future, make sure you let me know if you have any ideas on how we can do that, how I can select the winner. And it's something I like doing, and I think some of you maybe can't afford lessons like that, or maybe they can, but they're just not into it, whatever it is. And I'd just like to thank you for being here and supporting the channel and supporting me, because I know a lot of you stream the music, I know a lot of you buy CDs, and a lot of you, do everything you can to support me as a musician. And so that's very much appreciated. And to give a little something back, when we hit 9,000 subscribers, I give away a little online lesson. And yeah, so that would be fun. All right? Because sometimes I say, well, I should give away a CD, but most people don't listen to CDs anymore. So instead, I will give you some knowledge, right, if I can. And so today, as always, is pretty free. I will wait for your questions. Ask me anything you want about guitar, gear, whatever it is you like to talk about. If you want to share anything you've been doing musically, please do. And what have I been doing? Well, I've got this new book on how to build a studio, and I wanted to bring it today. I just left it at home. and I'll show you next time. But I have a few books on recording studios, how to build one, and that might give you a hint of some changes that are coming. But what else? What is new for you guys? Carlos, what's up with you up in Norway? Is it warm yet in Norway, or is it still cold? So let me know what you guys have been up to. And what else? I posted a video just a few days ago because I was playing around with that Studer, the Revox tape machine, the tape deck, and I made a little sample pack. Let me see if I can find it. Let's see, maybe I even have the... Wait, I'm going to share it with you here in case you missed it. So basically what I did, I took my old faithful little drum machine, the RX-8, and I used it to test the tape machine, and then I realized that I was basically sampling it, and so I put up the samples for you guys to keep. So let me just share that video with you if you haven't seen it, because I'm not trusting YouTube anymore to give you guys any of my videos, so I'm gonna give them to you myself. Here it is. So that's the video. If you click on it, you'll be able to see how I sampled the drum machine, but also you can just download the free samples. It's just a little something, it's nothing great. You know, it sounds pretty good actually, but you know, it's just one of each. And then as soon as I have time, then I will actually sample the whole thing. And maybe even those drum machines, you can see them right now, but I have some really cool old drum machines, and they sound great to tape. That's a very good tape, and it's a very good tape deck. And I have some very good preamps, so I want to do it properly. But this was just a quickie thing. I did it in about an hour, and I thought, you know, maybe I should just record how I do it and share it with the channel. So make sure you download the free samples and maybe put them into your little sampler on your phone. You can use them on just as WAV files. You know, you can put them into Contact, whatever it is you use for samples, and you can have fun. All right. So keep the questions coming, please, if you have any. But yeah, I haven't been doing this too much for making videos or music, really. You mean the playing? Well, you don't have to do much to make music, you know. Music you can make with anything. I started making music basically before I even knew what a C was. I had no idea of anything. I didn't know anything about notes, about rhythm. I didn't know anything about anything. And I started making music. I had a band, you know. So don't wait for that. Nobody knows everything. As a matter of fact, most people know just a little bit, you know, and we kind of do what we can with that and try to expand a bit more later. But you haven't been doing too much. And make some time-lapse videos. Yeah, with a soundtrack maybe, yeah. That's what I like to do too. I don't publish them. I have a bunch of videos that I do if I go out and maybe to different cities. I remember in New York, I shot a bunch of video on my iPhone, and then I made a soundtrack for it. And that's a private thing for now. I don't share that. But then I also make soundtrack. If I go into the woods, you know, I make these kind of moody videos with kind of a, you know, low saturation thing, and I suck at making videos, but it's still something that then I can bring it home and I put all these clips together in a kind of a nice way, and then I play music over them. And sometimes it's not even guitar music, because guitar for me is just you know, it's one way of doing it, but I do a lot of maybe keyboard music and piano or synths, and you know, it never goes out. I don't publish it, but it's really cool. Yeah, you make music for your videos? Cool. I do have a fairly new video on some sourdough starter I uploaded to YouTube. Well, post a link. We'll check it out. You can share a link here. Sorry about my voice today. Got some cool sound effects for the bubbly starter. Yeah, just give us a link. Give us a link and we'll check it out. I don't know yet how to do it right now in real time. But next time, as soon as I get better with this, And I have ideas for the future, but it might be a while, but have a different setup, always ready to go, and you just hit a button and it works. But give us a link and we'll check it out, and soon I'll be able to just share it with everyone through OBS. And I think I know how to do it. It's just I don't want to do it because I will touch something wrong and screw it all up. But this week has been cool also because I've what have I done this week that was funny? I forgot. Well, I have a new song coming up. Well, not coming up. No, sorry about that. It's a new song that's going to be promoted to actual finishing it, because I have a bunch of demos here on my 4-track, and one of those is a really great song. So that will be promoted to full production, and I should be able to do that soon. And then I kind of have to decide about, that's one thing I wanted to talk about actually. Do you guys still get full albums, or do you listen to single songs? I'm a full album guy. As a matter of fact, I was driving for many hours yesterday, and I listened to, 20 albums, beginning to end. I don't skip songs, I don't go select different songs. But a lot of people are telling me, like, you don't even need to make a record. I understand that, but, I still, especially for guitar music, I don't see just publishing one song, as a single, because I think the only reason to release a single would be if it was a kind of a hit, so to speak. But the instrumental music is what it is, and I think it's advantageous to instrumental music to have a kind of a thread, right? So you start the album here, you finish it there, and you go through this journey. And it's something that I discovered only later, I think, starting from probably Lights and Shadows, before Power of Fantastic and Feel the Sky. They were like, I was kind of learning everything at once, so it was basically like, okay, I have 10 songs, and I'm gonna record them, and then I'll put it out. There was so much effort and so much uncertainty with the process, how to do it, how to record it, how to mix it, how to do all that stuff, and to print it, and then to have it marketed and then put out, released. It was so much stuff that I was just like, okay, I'll be simply just putting 10 songs together and releasing it, and that's it. But then once I had this whole thing figured out, then especially with Lights and Shadows and Mystic Electric, I was really able to go like, okay, now not only do I have the songs that I think fit the record, but also how do you actually create a journey thing, which then gets all screwed up because I look at my Spotify and my iTunes thing, and there's like, 1 or 2 songs for each album that get the most plays, and then some of them are kind of forgotten, but those songs were like at specific points in the album that I think it lifted up the album, or it brought it down for some breathing space, and some others were like, so it's a mystery to me, but I think most people are just into songs now. But Kike doesn't buy physical anymore, but you guys do like full albums. There is a radio station called CQUA in Canada, maybe the world for all I know. It has so much super cool music on it. Oh yeah, there's many radio stations. That's something I discovered from Feel the Sky and on, because I do have people that I know in radio stations, and in the States there's a few ones. There's one called KMUZ. This great guy called Eric. Oh my God, I have a little bit of a. It's called Eric. Yes, Eric Gessner. He's a DJ there, and he's been playing my music for years, and he has this great show. It's called. Now the show I might have forgotten the name. Then and Now, I think it's called. And so it's an amazing show, and sometimes I can catch it on the internet. It's called KMUZ. And what he does is he plays my music, but he also plays all these, if Deep Purple has a new album out, he will play like 6 songs off the album. And then he might do an interview with Ian Gillan or whatever, or Steve Morse. And then, he would have Doug on the thing for an interview, and then he would play all the Dead Daisies record. And then it will mix it up with some Jeff Beck, and it will mix it up with, all kinds of cool stuff. And there's people like that, there's still people like it, and there's still people who listen to it. The thing is, everything is predominantly now Apple Music or Spotify, and I use them. I do subscribe to Apple Music. I listen to it a lot, like many hours a day. I have it on. And one thing I notice is that it never really suggests anything that if you go to the main page, it's all stuff I don't even know what it is, but I mean most people do, right? It's a basic it's the mainstream thing. And I've tried listening to it, but it's like, no thanks. And the rock stuff, it's all Guns N' Roses and Queen, of course. I don't mind that, and I don't mind Guns N' Roses or Nirvana, or I don't mind Metallica, but it's really hard to find new stuff that way. So what I do is I go from artist to artist. Sometimes I just follow a little trail, right? If I have like 2 or 3 hours, I would just sit there and listen to an album, and then out of the suggestions, I go way back, right? And I see one of the more obscure ones, and so you get into. So maybe you can go from from Queen. If you are adventurous enough, you might go through Bowie, right? Which is not maybe the top one, right? Because they'll try to take you to the new stuff. So you go maybe to Bowie, and then Bowie will bring you maybe to, just for association, you might get into Brian Eno. And then Brian Eno might get you to King Crimson, and then King Crimson might get you to Some Stranger stuff, right? And then you might end up listening to, Boards of Canada, and you're like, how did I end up here, right? And it's fun because then Apple Music will know you listen to Boards of Canada, and like, well, this guy is weird. Like he listens to Queen all day, but then he also have Jeff Beck and Deadmau5 and Vangelis and all that stuff. So let us give him something different. And so some of this strange stuff will come up, right? So you're like, okay, Klaus Schulze, great. And you listen to Klaus Schulze, and then you get into all this crazy stuff. And then once in a while I say, no, I really want to listen to some Iggy Pop. So I will put Iggy Pop on, and then Apple Music's algorithm goes like, okay, so now everything is derived from this. And I think they're getting better, but it's a bit of a pain in the butt, really, because there should be at least some kind of way to discover new things. But to me, I don't mind it because it's not that different from when you went to a record store and you bought records, but now you buy them once a month. You pay $9 or whatever it is, or €9, and you can basically walk into the store and listen to everything. And I think that's great. And classical music. So because I listen to all kinds of music, I think Apple Music has a hard time with me suggesting things. Because I've been listening to Barenboim playing all the Beethoven sonatas, right? And then I go, well, it sounds great. Who else is playing all the sonatas? And maybe you realize, Andras Schiff is playing all the sonatas. Let me hear all those sonatas by him. And you go through that, and you've gone through like 5 or 6 people who have recorded the whole thing, and it takes you days to listen to all of it. And Apple Music is like, well, this guy is weird because he listened to all this electronic music. He has rock records out, instrumental rock records, and people who listen to him listen to, Steve Vai and Joe Satriani and all these people. But then he listens to Barenboim and Schiff, so let us give him this. And sometimes I get, they give me these crazy suggestions. And it's fun to do, but I think it's extremely cheap, €9 a month or whatever it is, to listen to all the music you want. I think it's a great service. I think I could have never afforded when I was a kid listening to all the music that I can listen to now. On the other hand, I grew up listening to albums until they broke, and I think there's something to be said about that. There's a certain advantage to that. So sorry for ignoring you guys. Let's see, it's still cold around here in Norway. But a friend of mine lent me a guitar to have some fun at the end of the day. Well, you do have a guitar, don't you, Carlos? What's up with your guitar? I'm arranging songs from licks. How do you go when arranging the drums and bass of a song with very differentiated sections? All right, let's answer that question. Here's the link again, 25 seconds. There's no link here. Send us the link. Or leave it in the comments. Don't leave it in the chat room. Just leave it in the comments for the video. I'm an album guy, but I enjoy listening to development of concept. Yes. I use Rate Your Music for finding new music. I don't know. What is that, Kike? I used to be so narrow when I was young, only classic 70s. But I expanded my horizon greatly a long time ago, thankfully. But still the 70s classic rock is the best. Oh yes. Queen is the best. Queen is it. So Carlos, your question about arranging drums and bass. Well, bass is really, you have to look at bass as, well, you can look at it any way you want. But especially in rock music, sometimes it's been kind of relegated, and rock music and metal music, it's been relegated to a secondary position. So basically the bass is, we have a song and we need to cover some frequencies, right? And so the bass will do that, okay? The bass will do that, and that's the thing. Now, what that does is it gives you that frequency range that you need on your song. You can't really have a song without bass, although Prince did Kiss without bass. We'll talk about it some other time. But the bass certainly has a function, but if that function only becomes a frequency function, so a function of sound, then you're missing out. You're missing out. And I find as guitar players, myself, I have the same problem, or at least I used to have it. I was a guitar player that said, okay, I'll play the bass, right? And that kind of walks you down a slippery slope of just simply looking at the bass as if it were a guitar, hearing that sound and thinking that that's what the song needs. And that's a bit of a dangerous thing, because it's kind of a self-confirming strategy, right? So you hear a song, you say, something's missing here. Let me just try the bass, and you kind of play the root or maybe the riff as the guitar, and there's an advantage to it. You do hear a betterment of the song, and you might think that's enough, and it's not. So my suggestion is you always listen to great bass players. From the beginning, right? James Jamison from Motown, listen to Jacko, listen to, all that, whatever you like. To me, I listen to John Deacon a lot, of course, because I'm very much into Queen, but there's many great bass players. And sometimes that's what you need. You need a bass that adds to the song, not just as far as what frequency it occupies, but melodically. And so to me, I always look at it this way. This is what I do. If I have a lick or a melody, the bass is the second thing to come on. It doesn't come in at the end. So what I would do is, if I have a cool riff or a cool melody, then what I would do is I stop everything, record kind of properly the main idea. So if I have a melody, I will record it well enough so that everything is on time. Do a proper take. I don't because when I write, I'm just stream of thought. I usually have the tape going and I record everything. But then when I lock into something, then I yes, Flea too. Hello, Alejandro. Good to see you. I love Flea's playing. And so what I do is I actually say, okay, if this is the melody, because the guitars very often will be a rhythm thing. It will be a support thing. And so I say, well, the bass could really be interplaying with the melody, maybe even more so than chords, right? And so the bass to me is very important. And so I would have the main riff or the main melody, and then go through the bass and go, okay, so if the melody is going this way, for example, what is the melody missing? The melody could be missing, not in a bad way, but simply because of the inherent quality of that melody. It could be missing, for example, rhythmic information, right? If a melody is very simple, in a good way, but still simple, and it has long notes, that melody doesn't really have much rhythmic information. It might have more rhythmic information and less movement then, because if it's something like, for example, like the what is it? This one has melodic information, and it has a rhythmic information that's very straight. It's all 16 notes. Now those 16 notes, no matter how creative you are with them, you're still giving one note every 16 notes. So to add dimension to it, you probably need to do something that's melodic and at the same time has a very different rhythmic connotation. And there are many ways to do it, but there's only a few ways that really enrich the melody. Okay, so that's what I do. I always think, okay, first of all is the melody. That's king, right? The melody or the riff. That's it. That's all there is to it. But then as soon as I have that, then the bass is really the most important thing. Sometimes then that bass melody gets moved to a different instrument, if that's what I think will work better. But the bass is extremely important. And that way you start thinking as a bass player. You start thinking as the bass, kind of like an orchestra. So you have this instrument is doing this, well, this other instrument will be doing that. And sometimes the bass does this. Because sometimes the impact and the steadiness of the bass is what the song needs, right? So it's a non-answer, as always in music. It's very hard to give definite answers. But at least it should make you think of the bass as an opportunity, not as something you have to put into the song. It's an opportunity for adding something that might not be available in the melody or the thing. And the drums, that's what I would do right after that. I would do the drums and try to use the drums. Again, you're trying to do as much as possible, at least in my case, with as little as possible. That's usually the most elegant way of doing it. So it's kind of like playing golf, right? You're trying to, I don't play golf, but in music is the same. You try to do as much as possible, to get there with as few hits as possible. You're trying to get maximum impact with as little as possible, because people have a hard time imagining things if you're bombarding them with information, right? Sometimes you want a song to tell people exactly what to feel and when to feel it. Then it's a statement, right? So some songs you do want to make a statement. It's not open for debate. Is not open for opinion. I'm not looking for your interpretation of it. I just want to tell you exactly what it is I want to tell you about. And that some songs are like that. But most songs, you're trying to reel the listener in. You try to reel them in, and when they're inside the song, then they can interpret it any way they want. And those are the most fascinating to me. And so there's ways to do it, right? There's ways to slowly introduce a motif, right? So you have that main thing that draws you in is not even the melody. Maybe it's a little riff, right? Or maybe it's a little rhythm. And maybe it comes in slowly. And that's how you bring people in. Now, when they're in, then you can start adding things, right? But when they're in the song, their brains and their ears, they start working like that, right? They go like, what you know, subconsciously, they associate the music to feelings, to memories, to hopes, right? It doesn't have to be in the past. They can be in the future. They can just listen to a song and go like, they can be motivated by it. And sometimes it escapes you when you write it. So sometimes we do depend on, so to speak, technique. So when I hear one of my songs, I hear it and I go like, okay, this is not working because this and that. But then when people tell you what they think or what they feel or what the response is to your songs, you go like, well, I never thought of that, you know. And we always think that the people who write the music, they do it with that purpose in mind, but usually it's just basically a technical thing. You are respecting some certain rules that come from experience that say, well, you know, be careful if you give 100% all the time. Right? Don't give 100% of the information 100% of the time, because then there's nothing left to the imagination. It's not that you're being lazy, but as a matter of fact, doing as little as possible takes a lot more work and a lot more discipline than doing a bunch of stuff. So melodies, usually 90% of the work that I do on melodies is, you know, taking stuff out. You go like, okay, cut this, cut that, get rid of that note. Do I need 2 notes here if I can do it with 1? And so, going back to the drums, you can do it with drums too. You can do it with drums and go, okay, what does the drum need to do to bring out the meaning of the song? And to me, the meaning of the song is rarely in the drums. The drums can be a support thing, but I don't write as a drummer. And so to me, it's all about the melody and it's all about the riff. There's always something that's like the core of the song. And everything else has to adapt. And there's a song that Mystic Electric, the first song from Mystic Electric, the latest album. I don't want to talk about my music, but that's the only example I can give you probably, because I don't know what other people think when they write their own songs. But the main riff, which was right? Very simple 7/4 thing. I had that many months before I actually did the song, and I just couldn't figure out why it didn't work. And in the end, it was all about the tempo. And one day I sat down and I said, this is impossible. It's a cool riff. I need to be able to find something to use it with. And after a long time of changing keys, of adding stuff to it, of making it more complicated, it all came down to sitting down at the tape machine actually. And what I did, I recorded it, and then I used the very speed to slow down and speed up the machine until something clicked, and it was all about that. And then when it came to doing the drums, I thought, wow, 7/4, I can go crazy here. I can do all kinds of stuff. I can do 7/4 for the rhythm, and I could do 4/4 for the drums and let them meet again after so many, bars. And in the end, there was nothing that worked better than simply doing the simplest, most elementary 7/4 rhythm. And if you listen to the song, it's exactly that. There's nothing more than that, because anything else seemed to detract from the song. So to me, it's all about that. But one thing that you have to know, and to have 100% clear, is to have that nucleus, right? You need to have that riff or that melody that will carry a song, because that's really what it's all about. Every song you like, every song that really changed your life, it's all about one thing. Then there's many things you enjoy about it, but there is a core, there is a center to the song. And that's one thing you have to identify as quickly as possible, because that will then guide the rest of the song. So if this is, and that's what I usually do. If I have am I talking too much? Please interrupt me with questions. But if I have a clear idea of a riff or a melody, what I do is usually I write that, and then as soon as possible, I would just record it kind of properly. I will do a good take of that. I will do some good rhythm with good chords, good timing. I will do some decent bass. I will do a decent drum track, and then I listen to it. And if I can make the most out of that little section, everything else kind of is almost inevitable, right? When you have a strong idea, a strong core of a song, the rest of the composition, it really becomes inevitable. You're like, well, this doesn't work, right? You have it happened to me many times in dreams. In dreams, I had a different melody and it just didn't work. It didn't work because the core of the song, you probably can't hear that, but the core of the song was 100% clear, and the melody was good. It wasn't a bad melody. It wouldn't have made it that far, but it wasn't the song, and eventually it came up to me in a dream, and that's why I call it dreams. But it's just to give you an idea of how it works for me. I like to have a clear idea of what it is that will carry the song, and everything else is put at the service of that. Thanks for sharing. To look at it as an opportunity and try to convey the meaning with the minimal notes. Really clicked with me. Well, you're welcome, Carlos. Yes, to me it's very important. Some people will tell you, no, the more notes, the better. That's fine too, and there's no rules. I've certainly done both things. But as a general rule, that's what I like to do. I do apologize about my voice. It must be a pain in the butt to listen to me talk. Please send me more questions. I really enjoy this little chat we have on Saturdays. So I'll wait for more questions, or simply, your opinions on stuff. Maybe gear you've looked at. I'm not really into talking about gear, because then people get so distracted by the gear that they don't play. But I fall into the same trap. Sometimes I'm on YouTube and go like, I'm really going to study, chord arrangement in German music from the 1600s, right? That's what I'm into today. And then I see a picture of a synth and I go, I want to hear about the synth that I will not probably buy. And then you get to the end of the video and you want to buy it, even though you don't need it. But so I try to stay away from that. But I love gear. And I just don't want to be responsible for you buying gear. That's one thing. And that actually reminds me, it's kind of, I think I'm always careful to say, don't buy gear, you don't need gear. Because then people look at this stuff and they go like, well, sorry, let me have a little sip. Okay, well, at least I'm using the mute button to spare you. But so yeah, the gear thing, I totally understand why people's channels that talk about gear are successful, because I do fall into it. I just don't think it's a good example. It doesn't give a good example. And the good example would be to just play with what you got. But then I've fallen for that too, most of the stuff I have is actually because of a certain need. So it's true, some of those amps, I just found them for nothing because they were broken. I just bought them. But usually it took me years to get a Stratocaster. I eventually had it because I needed the sound of a Stratocaster for the albums, and I said, I should get one, and I went out and bought one. But some things are so impulse buying traps, I like compressors, preamps, even I get excited about cables. When I have to order cables, I'm all happy. I order 50 meters of cables and a bunch of jacks and plugs, and I'm all excited when it shows up. And I spent 3 days soldering cable, and my thumb and my index finger get all peeled off the skin, from all the twisting. And gear is just exciting, and it takes your mind off actual playing, which is a bad thing. How do you start your music ideas? Is something that you play on piano, you sing, or just chilling with the guitar? All three. all three actually, Alejandro. I'm not a good piano player, but I do have, after years of practice, because trust me, I have no talents. I have few talents, I think. And what I do is I have music now available in my mind, and I can relate to music without an instrument. And that took a long time for me, because my ear, I think, wasn't really that great to begin with. But because of that, now I can basically hear music. For example, I do apologize if I talk about my songs, but you don't mind, you don't have to listen to them. But if you do want to, then because I can tell you where they come from. There's a song on Mystic Electric called All in My Head. And it's about a person, a small person. And you know, just seeing this little person walk, nothing offensive, you know, not like a person with physical problems. We just, you can imagine who it is. But I don't talk about personal stuff. But anyway, and I was looking at this guy walk, and I said, there has to be a music for that. It's not even for the walking. It's for what goes in somebody's mind when they walk like that. And so that's how the All in My Head thing started. But that song, for example, started with me humming it on my iPhone as I was walking down the street. And I knew exactly what it would sound like. Sometimes the guitar is another thing, another vehicle. And it's always something that I suggest to people who don't have a great connection yet from the ear, you know, to the brain. Like, you know, it happens to all of us. You hear a song and you're like, what is that? I have no idea. I don't even know how to translate it to the guitar. You know, when you've not trained your ear, that happens. And you don't have to believe that that's like it will prevent you from making music. Quite the opposite. It might free you up, because then you go, okay, well, I can make music walking down the street or sitting on an airplane, but I can make music when I have my guitar on. So I just wait till I get home and play, and I will run into things. And so I do all three. Playing, I usually do it because if I'm actually playing with mindfully, you know, then I know what things sound like, basically, before I play them. I make mistakes, but you know, it's not. So what I do sometimes is I shut off that part of the brain, and I said, okay, well, you're gonna play just as if you had no idea what you were doing. So I always try to do maybe half an hour a day of just playing with no direction, because I have to be mindful, right? If I hear this note, I can start hearing all the other notes, and then I go, okay, I want to go there, I want to go here. But I try to just play without thinking, and it works, because sometimes you run into things that are interesting. The only downfall to playing an instrument for inspiration is that because of the way you're practicing all the time, or you're playing, you will kind of run into repetition. So sometimes you become sometimes, you know, you play what you've already played, and the more you play, the more you will play it, and through the years that will kind of limit you. So it's good sometimes to try to train your ear. If not, just simply try to play differently. So get a different, maybe get a different technique book, or you know, whatever it is. If you're stuck into something, try to expand so that your fingers don't move always in the same way, because otherwise you know, always come up with the same riffs, because that's what your fingers do. And but for me, melody is something that will come up all the time. And usually I just play a note, then what do I want to do? I want this other note, then I want that other note. And some of these melodies are really cool, and I record them on my iPhone. And if I want to, then I'll expand on them. I have thousands of them. And sometimes I don't even listen to them again. But yeah, maybe I can give you an example of one that came out just playing. Well, just playing the... This came up, this arpeggio thing came up as I was just trying an amp. I had fixed one of the amplifiers, I plugged it in pretty loud, and I said, wow, this sounds like some ominous, you know, thunder storm coming over a mountain or something, and this thing came up, and as soon as that was, I recorded on the iPhone, as soon as that was recorded, I sat here at the desk and really worked it out for the whole duration of the song. So you never know. I think it's a surprise. I think that's what keeps it interesting. But you don't have to, you know, believe all this stuff about, oh yes, I was sipping a martini on the airplane and this great melody came in my head. You know, yeah, maybe sometimes, but I assure you 90% of music will come to you when you're working. You know, it's not like, oh, well, you know, in dreams came to me in a dream, the melody. But I had spent, that's what people don't tell you, right? They say, well, I was sleeping and I woke up and I had in dreams all in my head. I just had to go to the studio and put it on tape. The truth is that I had been working on in dreams for probably 8 hours a day for a week, and I wasn't happy with the melody. And I was trying new things, and nothing worked better than the melody that was there. But the melody that was there was not the perfect melody. I knew that there was something better somewhere. And so yes, it did come in a dream, but I had that dream after maybe 50 hours of doing nothing other than trying to figure out that problem. So yeah, sometimes they do happen in a dream, but it comes from a lot of work. So I wouldn't concern myself too much about how they come, as long as they come. Sorry for the long-winded answer. That is one problem I always have. I talk too much. So sometimes I do interviews for like a radio and they're like, okay, well, we're not going to run this. It's 2 hours and my show is 25 minutes and you've been talking for 2 hours. So they have to edit. And it's funny, one other guy who had the same problem, which that's why I don't mind it, because he was a great, it was a monster. Ronnie Dio. Ronnie, he told me once, he's like, people always say that I talk too much, but then the world is full of assholes who go to an interview and they go like, yes, no, maybe, and they don't like those guys, but then they say that I talk too much and they don't like my interviews. And there's a couple, actually, if you look online, there's a few interviews with Ronnie that, he talks for so long, right? And the guys all, but they're different, they're vlogs and different formats, and the guys are so happy that Ronnie talks so much. But sometimes, if you're on a radio station or a magazine and they have to just give them one page and you talk for like 3 hours, it's a problem I have. I do enjoy talking about music. So that's why I thought this format for our Saturday streams would be fun, because we can just have a chat. But if I do get boring, please don't hesitate to tell me. I have no internal filters, so. I get original music when sleeping sometimes, just simple riffs, but the hard part is making come to life on guitar or keyboard. Sometimes I can get it though. Oh yes, well that is all really, if you have an idea, the translation to the instrument is all about basically some form or other of ear training. Because ear training can be melodic, it can also be rhythmical, understanding how a rhythm works and how you can, sometimes leave that template, the rhythmic template, and then being able to go back, but it all comes, it can also come down to practice, because that's the other thing. You say, well, how can you improve your ear, right? And there's certainly ways. I spent many hours trying to learn and learning eventually all the intervals going up and down. By the way, let me plug the interval video, the one that came out on Thursday. If you haven't watched that series, even if you think you know all this stuff, make sure you check it out. It's called Theory Thursdays, and it's every Thursday. There's only 2 videos yet, 3 maybe, with the intro. I'm planning on making many more, so make sure you check it out. But anyway, so you can work on your ear, because most people have your problem. They say, I want to hear music in my head and be able to translate it to the instrument. So what do I do? Well, the first thing you can do, instead of ear training, which I'm a total proponent of, just have music in your ear and put it on your instrument. That's what you do. That's how you practice. You practice by doing exactly what it is you want to do. Don't worry too much about the preparation, the preparatory exercises. Even if you don't know what a minor third is, but you hear it in your head and you can put it on your guitar, you're good. So sometimes you just have to play, Sometimes students go like, well, my technique sucks, what should I do? Well, do technique. Try to play what it is you're trying to play. Don't worry about all the previous steps. A good teacher will give you the previous steps. That is true. But if you don't have that, then do what it is you're trying to do. Just play it as good as possible, which means slowing down. A lot of problems could be fixed that way. Dude, hello, Aniket. Hello, dude. I want to learn guitar, but I don't have one. What to do? Well, I'm afraid you have to get one. It's really hard to learn on a guitar, learn how to play guitar without having a guitar to learn on. So step 1 is buy a guitar. Doesn't have to be expensive. Buy a decent guitar, get a Squier or an Epiphone, cheap one, get a little amp, or not even, use your phone as an amp, and then get started. But certainly you do need a guitar, I'm sorry to say. If I spend more time practicing, it would make a huge difference. Oh yes, well, that's kind of the trick, isn't it? Excuse. So, yeah, oh, by the way, let me plug this little book here because I always do it. I do want you to have it. It's free, 100% free. There's no tricks here. Make sure you get it. It's 21 licks and musical ideas. You can check it out, learn some technique, and there's nothing I want in return. It's just a little gift to you guys. So if you don't have it, get it, go through it, let me know what you think. It's called 21 licks. There's a link down here in the description. And all right, so we've been going for about the canonical hour of our streams, but as always, I leave it open for a few more minutes. If you want me to answer any questions, I will. My father-in-law just about recently started making simple guitars. Well, that's fun. Yeah, actually, Aniket Kumar, you could, or Paul, I don't know what your name is, you could actually build your own, but that's probably more expensive than going out and buying one. A guitar can be made from many things. Oh yes, but then you'll probably run into the thing that unless you know what you're doing, then, you know, if it's a project that you want to do, but people who want to get started, the easiest way to do it is to go out and buy one. You know, especially nowadays, you know, it's crazy how good cheap guitars are now. You can get an Epiphone or a Squire. They sound great. I have a few that I leave at different places. There's a couple of places that I spend enough time at that I have like a spare guitar, so I don't have to travel with it. I don't have to fly on airplanes with them, and I just leave them there. And one of them is a Squire Stratocaster. It's amazingly good, amazing. It's an amazing guitar. It cost me like 100 euros or 120. And it's a guitar that I could certainly 100% use to record my music. Ilmiras, what's up? Hello, nice Parker there. Well, thank you. Yes, it's a kind of a beautiful thing. This is my main guitar. I know I've made videos on these guitars before, so I won't bore you with them, but yeah. It's my favorite. Probably this is the guitar. This is the one I played the most out of all my guitars. But anyway, I was saying, when I started out, my parents bought me a guitar, and you know, it was expensive. It wasn't not very expensive, but it was quite expensive, and it was a piece of shit. It was terrible. It was terrible guitar. Rockex was the name, and it just was a bad guitar. And nowadays, with less money than that, I mean, there's Ibanez, there's Squire, there's Epiphone, there's Yamaha, there's what else? I mean, even the Thomann ones, the Harley Bentons. I've seen a few. I've seen a copy of a PRS, and it's like, you know, I mean, it's not a PRS, but it's still for, I don't know, it's like nothing. They cost nothing, and they're such great guitars. One of the guitars that I have that sound best is that one, the Epiphone, the 335 down there. That's an Epiphone. And I bought it just because I thought I needed a certain sound, and I was going to put some different pickups in it. Got it, and it sounds amazing. And then I did actually install some very good pickups. They have the Set Lover Seymour Duncan pickups. They're a version of the P9 of the Path, no wax in them. It sounds incredible. As a matter of fact, just a sound, simply as sounding guitar, I think it's the best sounding guitar I got. That one. Then of course I wouldn't be able to do everything. This is my main guitar and the other Parkers, but this is truly the one I use the most because it does everything I want. But as far as if I only had to play one note, that's the guitar I think will sound better. And it's 310 euros plus pickups. But even if you don't change pickups, it's a great guitar. But anyway, Ilmiras, Squire Classic Vibe. Oh yes, they are. You know, Schecter, that's right, yes. If you have a little money, a little more, you can get Charvel or Tokai. There's so many guitars. Hey Andre, kind of a big question. All right, Alex, what would you say is the ideal ratio between writing and transcribing music? How much of each is found in your regular everyday? I'm sorry, by writing you mean composing or actually writing? You know, let me know about that, because that's a bit different than. I have Set Lover in my Tokai Gold Top. Oh yeah, they're amazing, Ilmiras, aren't they? Where are you from, Ilmiras? Yeah, they're great pickups, incredible pickups. So you're talking about writing. Well, to me, it's all about writing music. I don't transcribe music, actually. The only music I transcribe, funny enough, is my music, because when I record, I'm very, it has to be an inspirational, instantaneous thing, and I have no patience. So I always say, the next record, I'm going to write out what I'm doing, all right? So I always end up doing it. As a matter of fact, there's a little video of me playing the bass to one of the songs of Mystic Electric, and that's the only thing I ever did. I always say, this time I will. This time I'll make a video, and this time I will record myself playing the solos, because all my solos are improvised, but this time I'll make a bunch of videos, and I keep it low quality. I had a whole setup on Filmic, and I will do it with low resolution so it doesn't take up a bunch of space, and then when the record is done, I will be able to see what I was doing and transcribe it. I never do it. Never do it. As a matter of fact, all my solos are improvised, 90% of them, and I have to go back and transcribe them, just to make sure that at least I play something similar when I do live things. But I don't really transcribe a lot of music, but it is certainly a great way to do it. Of course it does, Lithuania. Of course I know where it is. Yeah, of course. I have never been though, but of course. Well, I hope this finds you well. I don't know what your situation there is with the virus, but I think we're all doing a bit better. So, Ilmiras, I would love to visit your country sometime. But Alex, so going back to that, I think to me the joy of music is making music. And so to me it's all about writing music. Not writing on paper, but it's all about making music. And transcribing music, I would use it as an exercise. As a matter of fact, what I do tell people, if they want to improve their ear, is to just watch TV and copy everything you hear. As a matter of fact, at my house, watching TV is torture for everyone else, because I always have a guitar in my hand, and either I'm doing this during the movie, and as soon as the ads come on, then it's all about, I play note by note everything that's on the ad. And even the soundtracks to the movies. You always hear underneath everything, you'll hear this, all the time. So you don't want to come to my house for movie night. But that's what I always suggest people do. Any kind of melody, but then it's very similar to just coming up with melodies and playing them. So transcribing, I think there's a place for it. For example, if you're trying to become familiar with a certain vocabulary. So for example, if you're really into jazz music, there's some kinds of music that are really, they're really based on tradition. So flamenco, there's jazz music and a few other styles of music that then transcribing becomes kind of part of the thing, right? Other styles like classical music, very few people actually transcribe classical music. It's all about having the transcription done and you interpreting it and playing it. So it really depends on what it is you're trying to do. I try to really, even practicing, I try to do it, but it's not something I do a lot of, because it's all about, what do I want to do with my time, and usually it's just make music. But and that's why sometimes I have to, spend a week or two getting back into top shape if I'm playing live and stuff like that. But if you're into, if you like transcribing, that's incredibly useful. I did a lot of that. When I was a kid, I read an interview that Steve Vai did it, so I said, if Steve Vai does it, then I'll do it. And I started doing it a bunch, and then I said, why am I doing this again? And then I started just making more music. Set Lovers are the best I've tried. They're unpotted. Yeah, that's right. So slightly microphonic at high volumes. Yeah, so for what I do, the Set Lover kind of fall a bit short in the distortion, sustain thing. And that's cool. It's no problem at all, but it's something that I couldn't be able to do 100% of my music with. But a lot of things, if you listen to melodies like, as a matter of fact, Mystic Electric, the album, if you want to listen to it, the whole record, there's a lot that was done on that guitar of the main melodies. You'll hear it. You kind of hear this open, round sound. That's the Set Lovers. I do that with a simple radio commercial. Oh, yes. Yes. Writing is my number one thing. It's just that I'm currently in the process of trying to understand a new style. Yes, so transcribing or simply playing by ear, that's great, Alex. That's a great idea. You should certainly do that. If you don't want to get into the transcription thing, because then that's another thing. That's one thing I studied extensively is there's a whole set of rules about how you write music, right? So you can do your own way, but if you want to, then I don't know why I even studied it, but there's a set of rules on where you put the bar lines, and there's many ways to write a certain phrase, but only one that is acceptable, and so on. So if you want to get into that, I find it interesting. I decided early on that music was interesting to me no matter what. And so I listen to all kinds of music, and I study all kinds of stuff. I study things that I will never use. I study a lot of jazz theory that is usually not jazz music is not what I do, and there's not much that I incorporate in my music because just of the sounds I use. If I use a lot of distortion, a lot of the scores are off the, they're not allowed for me. I can't use them. But I love chords so much that I have a whole series on Tuesday. I spent hours. I spent probably, yes, hundreds of hours recording, thinking about, editing, and publishing that series that's coming on Tuesdays. And most of those chords, I explained, I don't even use them, but I know them. And then I can bring out those sounds with my melodies, with my arrangements, So I'm of the opinion that if you like music, you'll enjoy learning anything. And I learned how to write music. I have 2 manuals on the formal way of writing music. And so if you're into it, Alex, do it. There's nothing, you got nothing to lose. Akash, what's up, Akash? Which DAW do you use? I'm mainly a Pro Tools guy. I've been collaborating and working with the guys over there for 13 years, I think, maybe 15 years. So I'm into Pro Tools a lot. I enjoy Luna now by Universal Audio. And I'm really, last week we talked about DAWs a little bit. I'm really tempted by the stranger ones for me, like Ableton Live and even Logic, because they're kind of different from Pro Tools. But mainly I'm a Pro Tools guy. But who knows? I'll try more. I sometimes like to mock my girlfriend when she's mad and yelling at me by playing back the notes or as close as possible to what comes out of her mouth. Yes, that will certainly earn you a few points. Great idea. I won't do that, but good idea. By the way, by transcribing, I just meant learning, not necessarily writing. All right, cool. Well, then we are in agreement 100%. But you can also look at the writing stuff. It's very interesting. Cool. So I'm here if you have any more questions. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. Sorry it took me a while to get started today. I know I started a bit slow. I've been feeling a bit under the weather today. I've had a long Thursday and Friday, a long couple of days, but hopefully they'll be fruitful. I'm mainly a Logic user. Now start my Pro Tools 101 course. Started. Yeah, Pro Tools is great, Are you into amp simulators, both hardware and VSTs? I have my Kemper. I'm more into amplifiers, as you can tell. And there's a few more actually. But I have a Kemper, which I really like, and it saved me a bunch of times. We talked about this on previous streams. And as far as plugins, I use not many, but I do like the Universal Audio ones. I have their Marshall 59, it's an SPL. And then I have the SLP. Yeah, it's actually the SL59, the Super Lead 1959. And I have their Fender Tweed, the Fender Champ. It's a great plugin. I use that a lot. But I will use anything. I got an Adrenaline there. A lot of you guys know that I have my Rockmans from the 80s. Love those, the simulators in a way. But what else? I have an old Pod. I have the old Zoom, the little tiny one that I think the guy from 9 Inch Nails used. I've got, I use anything that makes a sound. I got an iRig for my phone. As a matter of fact, there's a song called, what's up today? I'm talking all about my songs, but there's a song called City Lights. You can check it out if you want, from Lights and Shadows. And I recorded the whole song in 1 hour on an iPad. 1 hour, the whole song was done. And then when I brought it home, I was at a hotel. And when I brought it home, I kept a bunch of stuff. I kept a bunch of loops. I kept a bunch of synths, all from the iPad. And then I basically copied the melody and the chords because they came out perfect. Just in 1 hour, the whole song. But I didn't want to keep those sounds because, when we're talking about the iPad 5 years ago or more, so the sound wasn't there yet. But it's getting better and better. I noticed that it's gotten so much better by listening to synth plugins. There's a couple of synth plugins that came up just not too long ago, and they sound almost exactly like 100% as the hardware. There's a Juno 106 one that sounds amazing. There's a modular thing. They sound like real, true analog. And so amps are getting there too. As a matter of fact, some students I suggest, they say, well, what interface should I buy? And I have my opinion. I love the universal audio stuff. I also like the SSL stuff, the new stuff. I think it's great for the price. But I've been suggesting people check out the iRig one. What do they call it? The XIO. It's IK Multimedia one. I'm not associated with anyone. I'm not getting paid for any of this. But truly, it's because Amplitude. I mean, in 2021, it will sound incredibly good. It sounds very good. And many things sound very good. The XFX and the Kemper. To me, it's always like a secondary thing. My main thing is amps, but it's certainly viable. You can truly make music on a laptop now. Truly, you can. Well, since we established that you spend most of your time writing, of course you will talk about your songs a lot. Yeah, sometimes I feel a bit bad about it. I don't want to make you feel that you have to go out and listen to it. But by the way, I know some of you do it to support, and I do appreciate it. I love watching my Spotify and my Apple artist page and seeing, wow, look at this. These guys in Singapore and South Africa and Russia and Japan and France and Italy, and who are you guys? I would love to just be able to chat to everyone who listens to my songs. But probably they wouldn't be interested in talking to me. They'd be like, it's enough, we already listen to your stuff, we don't want to talk to you. Want to learn all your favorite things. Well, you should, with music, why not? It's also interrelated, Can you please make a video where you explain things to take into consideration when recording guitar and all the post-production? Oh, Akash, that's a great idea, but then I have to wait for a little while because there's going to be some changes coming up, and that video might require me to have a bit of a different setup. And that's also why I want to thank all of you who do contribute to the channel, because I promise that everything goes back into the channel. I don't go out and buy clothes, as you can see. I've been getting a few comments about my Vans sweaters. I only wear Vans sweaters because it's easy for me. When I see one I like, I get it, and then they last me a long time because clothes is not one of my main things, as you can tell. Music, instruments, traveling, but maybe even some good food, but clothes is not a big issue for me. But Vans should probably sponsor me, although with the numbers this channel is pulling, probably they're not too interested right now, but maybe in the future. But yeah. But anyway, so I will use it for, maybe different cameras. The lights, I think, have gotten a lot better, thanks to you guys. Thank you very much. And yes, Akash, I will keep it in mind. If you think I'm ignoring you somehow, make sure you remind me, all right? Because these videos get pretty long and we talk about many things. So feel free to just hit me up or leave comments saying, hey, you didn't make that video you promised, and I will try to do it. So for now, I'm actually completing all the editing for one chord a week. Those come out on Tuesday, which is a big thing for me. I think everybody should watch those videos. Everyone, you should learn those 3 chords every week. It's an amazing thing. If you do it, there's like 40 videos. If you learn 3 of each, every week it's only 3 positions. By the end of September or October or whenever that series is over, you will know so many chords and you will know so much more about music. It's unbelievable. It's not because I'm making these videos. Just you should 100% watch them. You should tell your friends to watch them. And you should make sure everybody you love watches them, because chords are it. Chords are where everything is at. Chords will teach you harmony, will teach you, basically they'll teach you everything. They'll teach you scales even. They'll teach you ear training. They'll teach you composition. It's all about chords. So Tuesday's chords. Thursday I do the theory thing, which I just started, but I think it's fun and I try to make it as useful as possible. And then on Saturday I do the live things, and I think I will have to think of some other way of doing videos that are unrelated to that, and I don't want to, you know, I don't want to make you watch me more than 3 times a week. That's plenty already. Video idea after the core series progressions. All right, Alex. Yeah, well, maybe I will start going live at strange hours. It won't be now, but in a few months, I might be able to do that. You know, whenever inspiration strikes, I will just come downstairs and make videos. Randomly live stream, maybe while I'm writing music, which is not something I've ever even considered, but I'm trying to, you know, I watched some of the Deadmau5, I love Deadmau5 videos, and he's like sitting there at his desk, doesn't give a crap about anyone watching, and he's just boom, 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 and he starts working, and 2 hours later he has a great idea. Figure out, sometimes not so great, and it doesn't matter, you know, it's a process. And I think I will enjoy it. I would probably won't do it for true album tracks. I wouldn't do it for that. I want to work at my own thing, but for strange ideas that come up, then I would certainly would like to do that. So things will happen with this channel, even if it's tiny and small. If nobody watches it, I don't care. I will keep doing it. And so anyway, yeah, chords and groove. Oh well, please, these ideas, put them in the comments. The chat room is great, but I won't be able to remember which video to watch. But the comments are very neatly organized for a YouTuber. You have, you know, a YouTuber page, whatever it's called, the dashboard. I can access comments. It's easier for me than going through chat room. So leave them in the comments of these videos. It's easier for me to go through them. All right. So what else there is to say? Maybe we should just call it a day for now. I've been talking too long. I have been tempted of doing 6-hour videos. Maybe I'll do it once and then you'll all leave the channel. But anyway, is there anything else I want to talk about? No, just to remind you that there are books you can get for technique. I'm not trying to push it onto you, but I know some people ask about technique all the time, and for the price, I think I don't feel bad at all about selling it to you. You know, I think it would be great for your technique. So there you go. And you can get music down here. You can do everything you want, and you can ignore all that and just be here on Saturdays and chat. And I love seeing you guys. And I really thank you for doing this on a Saturday, because I know you have better stuff to do than listening to me babble. So here's an idea about the progression thing, breaking out of the tonic harmony chord substitutions. Can you quickly show you how to hold a pick? Let me do something better. I hold it like this. Okay, but let me give you a link to one video that everybody is watching now. My videos are strange like that. Let me give you one link, all right? This is the video that I think most people are watching now of mine. Many more people are watching that video than any other video I have, I think. Let's see. Give me just 1 second, all right? All right, videos. Let's see, just 1 second. Okay. Let me just link it. You know what? I'll link it in the comments. Because I don't know if the thing on the chat room will work. Let me just link it to you in the comments. As soon as this is done, I'll link it. All right? So, anyway, if you want to help out, you know, make sure you subscribe, share it with a few friends if they're guitar players, and you know, we'll do more videos. It's easier, you know. The more we are, the easier it gets to do Saturday live streams and having chats and everything. But yeah, this is what I do. I do this. I put the pick right there, and I rest my thumb on it. There's no tension, no pressure, nothing at all, and I play with the wrist. It's as simple as that, but I will link that video for you from the encyclopedia that I did a few years ago. And anyway, so have a great weekend, guys. Have a great week ahead of you. And so yeah, I hope to see you all. There's a bunch of new people here. I don't know, maybe you were in the chat room before, but it's good to see all of you. And make sure you come back and bring questions, opinions, all that kind of stuff. Always good to check out your videos, Andrew. Thanks so much for sharing your knowledge and talk in general. Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for being there. I do apologize if it took me a few minutes to get started today, but I'm feeling much better. So see you soon. Have a great one. Bye.